Hi, everyone. We are still the librarians with the Arapahoe Libraries, and we are here to chat with you today about some exciting books that would be a good choice if you are in eighth grade or if you like YA books. So we will jump right in and get started. My name is Bridget, and I have Lauren and Catherine with me today, and all of us are so excited to tell you about our books. So Lauren is going to go first, and hopefully you find something exciting to read this time around.
So I want to tell you about This Is My America. If you liked Dear Martin or The Hate You Give, stories about social justice with a mix of mystery in this one will be a great pick for you. So Tracy's father has been in jail for 7 years, and he is now on death row for his last year. He has 1 year left until he is sentenced to death. And Tracy knows that he is innocent. A lot of people do, but she's really been trying to push for it. She's 17 years old, and every week she writes into this organization called Innocent X. And they're an organization that helps fight injustice, especially in like the criminal justice field. And she keeps writing them, doesn't hear anything back. And then one night the police arrive at their house and they arrest Jamal, her brother, who is accused of killing a white girl. And Jamal is a really smart, really good at track. He's like put on the best teams and things like that. And so no one believes that he did it. And so now she's not only fighting for her father, but she's also fighting for her brother as well. And she's writing Innocent X about her brother's situation as well, trying to find some answers. So now Tracy is trying to figure out what happened to this girl. Something obviously happened. And so it gets really intense. It is heartbreaking at points. I will tell you that. It's an honest story, honest look at fighting for what you know is right and also trying to find the truth because she's sneaking around with her friend trying to find this. That's where the mystery comes in. She wants to find the answers and prove it in a timely fashion so nothing happens to her brother, her father. I really loved the character building. You get to know each one in their family. Their family's super close. I really enjoyed that. And Tracy is just such a strong, amazing character that everyone is going to look up to if they read this. So that is This Is My America.
Beast of the Frozen Sun was one of my favorite fantasy books that I read this year. It has, if you like fantasy, that's not set in our world, but it has elements of that are recognizable. This one wove in bits of Norse mythology and Irish mythology. I highly recommend the audiobook. One of the narrators is actually Irish, which lends even more of that feel to it. The main characters of the story are Lyra and Riker, and they are parts of two different warring clans. Lyra is the one who lives in the world that looks a whole lot like Ireland, and Riker is essentially a Norse Viking raider. And at the beginning of the story, he has been injured and has been left behind by his crew, and Lyra finds him and starts to help nurse him back to health. But what she doesn't realize at the time is that she knows Riker from many years before, when there was this very pivotal event that happens that's a little bit spoilery, so I won't tell all of the secrets on that. But they have this connection, and it is somehow magical as well. Lyra has an ability that allows her to read people's souls, and up until now, her father, who is the chief of her tribe, has forced her to use this ability to read criminals' souls before they are executed, which is pretty awful if you think about it. But now a warlord who's called the Dragon is coming for her because he wants to use this ability. It is so fascinating. My main warning with it is that it is a little bit violent, much like most books involving Vikings. This one can get pretty violent, but it is such a fascinating world that it has set up.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about Street Ball is Life, Lessons Learned on the Asphalt, which is nonfiction. And this one, if you like basketball, this would be a good choice. So the story is sort of a mixture of things. I picked it up because I was kind of curious. It's about the author Paul is telling about his like growing up and how he got involved with basketball and what he played, specifically street ball rather than basketball via a more, I guess if you want to call it official sort of thing, sort of like a school team or whatever. And so this is sort of his story of how he got into basketball and what playing basketball was like, but it also mixes together other pieces. It talks about one of the things that I thought was so interesting about this book is it talks about the way basketball and what you do as a basketball player, like what you do on the court, how your dynamics with your teammates work, what it's like when you're learning new stuff or trying out new stuff or failing at new things, and how that relates to other parts of life. So it's really interesting. And one of the things that, if you're somebody who maybe isn't as interested in basketball, you might want to give this a try anyway, because as much as there are details about the game and about the play style and about how he kind of navigates the world of street ball, there's a lot of stuff in there that I thought really relates to other parts of life. And there's drama, there's the drama that you have with friends, the drama that the fights that happen when people kind of trash talk one another, when maybe you aren't as good as you think you are, or the other player isn't as good as they think they are. And then there's lots of sort of pull quotes and pieces from famous basketball players. So Kobe Bryant and LeBron James and other players that kind of talk about the game and talk about how to kind of how you live basketball essentially. So it's really interesting. It has, like I said, lots of details. And if you're remotely curious in street ball and how that might be different from other styles of basketball, this one is really, really a great choice.
Legend Born is a fantastic contemporary fantasy, similar to City of Bones. It's definitely in our world, but definitely has this other world feel to it. And it's after Bree's mom passes away in an accident that she decides that she is going to accept an offer to attend a residential program at the university that her mom attend. It's a shot for seniors in high school to get experience of what college is like and get high school credit for as well. It's an awesome opportunity. And she enjoys kind of getting that freedom and the time to kind of process everything. But on her first night there, she witnesses a magical attack on campus. And that sends her wondering what is happening. A Merlin attempts and fails actually to steal her memories of what she saw. Obviously, doesn't want her to know what happened. And that is when this magic awakens inside of her. And she's realizing that she's noticing things differently. And she's learning about this group called the Legendborn who fights the demons that she saw. And she thinks that's what I need to do. I need to get into there and figure out what is happening. She's having these memories of things that she doesn't remember, but were obviously suppressed in her memory. So after convincing Nick, who is a self-exiled Legendborn, he's totally disowned them. She's convinced him to take her in and have her be an initiate to start with the Legendborns. And from there, it really opens up. She's trying to find these answers, and ever since the magic has been unlocked, those memories have been coming. She's getting these flashes, and it's getting closer and closer to the time of her mother's death. And that's when she realizes that there's more to her death than just the accident. So now she is super determined to figure out what happened because she feels like she can find some more answers about her mom. So if you're interested in this amazing magic story, I love that the world building, even though it's within a world that as we know it, it was really cool to see that multi-layered kind of world building system. It is a first in a series as well. And hopefully next year we get the next one because I'm super excited. So again, that's Legendborn.
No True Believers was a little unexpected for me. I was a little bit surprised in the direction it went. If you love political thrillers that feel like they are just ripped from the headlines, that is what this one was. I found it fascinating. It follows Salma, who is a Muslim American who is also an ethical hacker. And she and her family and her friends have noticed an increase in Islamophobia in the country. And as a result, her best friend Miriam and their family recently moved to Dubai. They left the United States because they didn't feel like it was safe to live here anymore. But Salma and her family have decided to stay. What you discover, there's a new family that has moved in next door, and they're a little bit suspicious. You really don't quite know how as the story starts off. But what unfolds is this action-packed thriller of a novel that really examines some of the things that you see very frequently, as I mentioned, in the headlines of the news lately. Salma is being framed by someone and being accused of having hacked into a high-level government agency, and now she and her family are essentially about to have to go on the run. It is so fascinating, nonstop action. I highly recommend it if you're looking for a good thriller.
So, The 10,000 Doors of January is a book written for an adult audience, but I think it would work really well for teen readers who are interested in sort of otherworldly, kind of portal fantasy, really lush lyrical writing. If you liked books like Caraval or The Night Circus, I think you might be into this book. And it's about January. That's the main character. She's 17, which is another reason I think it appeals to teen readers, even though it's written for adults. She's the main character. She's kind of giving you the story. And she has been raised by this sort of very wealthy older man because her dad, Julian, works for this man. Her dad goes out all across the world and retrieves fanciful, fascinating things and brings them back. And at the beginning of the book, her dad has disappeared, and January finds this small blue book. And this story turns into January discovering magic, a magic where she kind of figures out that she has the power to write words that open doors to other worlds. And this is something that maybe she might have had in common with her dad. And there's this mystery. January's mom is kind of out of the picture. There's this sort of mystery element of what's going on, like what happened to her mother? And also, what are these doors? What are these worlds? What is this nice older man who's kind of like been sort of her caregiver while her dad was on these missions? Where does he fit into this? And this book, one of the things I think that really made me fall into it, like fall into the story, is just that very over the top almost writing that gives you really paints a picture, makes it you really see the worlds that are being talked about and the magic and how different everything is in all these doors. So it's a really interesting read. It has a great audiobook reader too, if you would like that. They do some fun voices, things like that. So this one I recommend for you people who like blends of fantasy and adventure together. This one is a great choice for that.
Rules for Vanishing is a really good one if you like a horror mystery book. This one you'll devour. It is similar to the Blair Witch Project in that it's a fake documentary style, which I really liked. It starts out with the story of Lucy Gallows disappearing in the woods. And every year on her anniversary, if you have a friend, it always has to be in pairs of two. It doesn't matter the number, but there always has to be two. And you go out to the woods, and if you find the place where she disappeared, something happens, and it's called the game. And several people have tried it, not all successful, but some have also disappeared when they have tried playing the game. And that's what happened to Sarah's sister, Becca. And she disappeared, and it's coming up to the year again. And Sarah is like, now's the time. We have to play the game as they call it, and go to the forest to find my sister. So she does get some friends to go with her. It's no spoiler that once they get there, things really start to happen. They do, in fact, seems to have found the place where something is supposed to happen, and as a reader, you just kind of dive into it. You're in this spot with them, and you're feeling it and experiencing. They talk about the smells and the feeling and how gross it is and like the darkness, and you just kind of, I got chills during it, honestly. Like it just gets really intense once they get to that point. One of my favorite parts is that the audio is really good. It goes back and forth, the story itself, between the firsthand experiences and recording of talking to the police. And so there's this back and forth dialogue, and so you really are immersed inside of their story as it's kind of going back and forth, because they did start recording with their phones at first and things like that. So if you're looking for something that will keep you on the edge of your seat and that you need to figure out what's going on, just for your own sake, that one is fantastic. So see what happens when they decide to play the game.
Don't let the cover of Toxic fool you. It is not a sweet, flowery story. It is actually Korean horror meets deep space sci-fi, and it is one of my favorite books that I've read in quite some time. It is one of those that is so compelling that you can't put it down, partially because it's so scary that you need some closure and you need to know what's going to happen next. And it follows Hana, who is a genetically engineered clone. She's not human, and technically it's illegal for her to exist, but she has lived her entire life with her mother, the woman who created her, on the sentient spaceship called Cyclo. And the story gets going when Hana wakes up. She essentially sleeps cocooned inside the organic matter of Cyclo. And she wakes up comes out of Cyclo and discovers that the ship has been evacuated. And what slowly starts to unfold, what you start to discover, is that everyone who was on the ship has fled. They didn't know Hana existed because Cyclo is dying. She's slowly losing her mind and she is murdering people. And in particular, she doesn't want to let Hana go. It is so compelling. I highly recommend it if you're looking for something that is just gonna unsettle you in the best way.
So Blaze Wrath Games is a great choice if you like dragons, if you like competition adventure, murder, those things together. This might be a good choice. It's a very fast-paced story. It follows our main character is excited because she has been kind of dreaming her whole life to play this game, this Blaze Wrath, which is a game that involves people riding dragons. Surprise! And she has been wanting to do this for her whole life. She gets a chance, the opportunity to play for the Puerto Rican Blaze Wrath team, and this sort of comes about. The world building in this book is something that I think you will really like if you enjoy sort of mashups of contemporary and magic together. So this world does have magic. There are magic wands. They have different levels: bronze, silver, gold wands. There are the dragons. There's this competition. The Blaze Wrath games are sort of, if you're a Harry Potter fan, you would probably be into the kind of magic system. This Blaze Wrath feels a little bit like some of the Quidditch style games, these competitions. But what happens, instead of just being sort of the story of Blaze Wrath and how you play it and how our main character gets into it, is that there is an evil dragon, the Sire, who is sort of tearing apart the world in various ways, and she gets swept up with her team, swept up into this sort of intrigue, murdery, mystery, like something weird is going on type of story. So you've got your dragons, you've got your magic, you've got weird murder mystery happening, and all of through that is woven this fascinating world building of the magic system. So really fast paced. If you like dystopian stories, this is definitely not dystopian, but if you like that kind of page turnery nature of those types of books, this might be something that appeals to you. And it is something that I will say, it is very different from, I know I've compared it to a lot of things, but it is a very different sort of story and world from most other books that I have read. So I highly recommend you give that a chance. And that is the last book we're going to chat about today. So, oh, I've made a noise. Thank you all for joining us. We are excited to have you. And hopefully you had heard about something that you are excited to read or you're curious about. We'd love for you to hear about a book you like. So thanks for joining us, and we will be back with more book recommendations in the future. Bye.
Bye.